Wonderful morning to you all listening to the 5FM radio here in Lusaka and the surrounding areas on 89.9. And we're so grateful that you are able to join us for yet another edition of the Daily Issue. And this is the Thursday edition. We would like to welcome you all. Remember that we are also live on many other platforms. I will quickly go through them. We are live on Isunga Radio, that is in Senga Hill in Northern Province on 88.3 FM. We are also live on Tuta FM in Mwanza, covering Rapala Province on 90.7 FM. Muchinga Radio on 88.1 is equally carrying us live, and ZFM as well on 100.3 FM. This is in Kapirimposhi. Platinum Radio in Ndola, covering most of the Copper Belt on 99.7 FM, and iWave FM in Chingola, equally covering the rest of the Copper Belt on 90.1 FM. And 91.1 FM is Spice FM in Kawe, covering Central Province. And we jump all the way to the Eastern Province. We are live on Katete Radio, that's Katete FM on 103.3. And remember, we are also live on BMTV. Now, BMTV is on channel 114 on Topstar. And please be able to tune in. And also, we are working in collaboration with BMTV for our Facebook streaming. So look out for 5FM Radio Zambia. And we are live on that Facebook page. Please feel free to give us a comment and your question. We'll be grateful to hear from you. I'm your host, Zachariah Banda. Now, today, we are privileged to host the Democratic Progressive Party President, Mr. Antonio Mwanza. Mr. Antonio Mwanza, good to welcome to the burning issue.
Thank you so much, and good morning to the listeners and the viewers that are watching us from different platforms that you've mentioned.
Indeed. We haven't spoken this year.
It's been a while, since last year.
Indeed. How is it going?
Well, the years change, the challenges remain the same, the opportunities remain the same.
Right.
As we say in the compound, chamene chichinja ni kalenda, mavuto siyachinja.
Right. But also, let me quickly make mention that today is a sad day. We as a country are mourning, as we may all be aware. President Hakainde Hichilema has actually accorded an official funeral to former cabinet minister in the UNIP government, Dr. Mutumba Bu. The late Dr. Bu served as cabinet minister from 1973 to 1983 for 10 years in the United National Independence Party government. She is actually the first female cabinet minister of this country. That said, I know that you are a player in politics. You are a party party president of a political party. You may want to have a say about the demise of a gallant woman.
Obviously, our hope, our prayers and our thoughts go to the family of the deceased. And also, we appreciate her for the contributions and commitment to her country. I think it is critical that we use her unfortunate demise as a point of reflection, especially on women participation in politics. The other day, I was asking myself, why, when I post things on social media, if things are of political nature, I get very few women commenting on them. Very few women will comment on things of political nature. But if it's things that have to do with social nature, nkani yama kitchen party, yama wedding, yama side chicks, yama side plate, we have a lot of women commenting on these issues. So I was asking myself, what is the paradox when it's voting? The majority of the people that vote have consistently been women. Consistently, every election since 1991, when we do the exit polls, the majority of the people that vote are women. Yet when it comes to issues of politics, the majority of the women on social media don't comment on politics. And the majority of women don't participate in politics as in getting positions to run as councillors, as mayors, as council chairpersons, as members of parliament, or even as presidents. And it's the same even when it comes to appointments. You will still see that the majority of the women, despite being in the forefront of larger demography, that votes still don't appear anywhere near political governance structures. And if even when and this also came to my mind to ask, I've never seen, for instance, any president, unless I'm mistaken, who, for instance, has appointed a woman as the presidential spokesperson. Those leading roles where men are in front, we haven't seen that. So why is the paradox? Why do so many women, for instance, shy away from commenting on political matters? It's because they don't feel safe. Because our politics can be rough. We have a politics that is petty, that is driven on personal attacks, that is driven on the insults and attacking one another, a politics that doesn't deal with the real issues affecting the masses. And women, by their very soft nature, they will not be part and parcel of that political environment. So the death of Madame Boo should be a reminder of what we need to do, all of us, to change the political spectrum, to make it more comfortable for women and those other people that wouldn't want to be part and parcel of this toxic politics, where, for instance, if you are in government, all that you need to do is to agree with every government decision, even when you know it is wrong. And when you're in opposition, oppose every government decision, even when you know it is right. So our politics are so petty, are so toxic, are sometimes violent, physically and emotionally, and it takes away a very important group, the women, the youth, and even a larger group of professionals. They don't want to be part and parcel of our politics because they don't find it progressive. So it is the death of Madame Boo, the first female cabinet minister. We should use it to reflect on how can we make our politics better and open it up so that we can have more women participating and freely, exchange their views on these matters.
What strikes me the most is the fact that she served for 10 years, which is a very rare occurrence in cabinet. And that said, an example is President just relieved 2 ministers of their duties yesterday, barely before they clocked 5 years in cabinet positions. But I would like your speculation on what do you think could have led to the president to make such a decision. And I think these are ministers that the public did not expect he would relieve them of their duties.
It is important to that when ministers are appointed, nobody asks questions why this person has been appointed as a cabinet minister. But when they are fired, the whole country asks questions why they've been fired.
Right.
I think we need to appreciate the fact that these serve under the discretion of the president, who is the appointing authority. And the president doesn't give reasons for their appointments and usually doesn't give reasons for their dismissal.
Right.
But it's also important to look at some of these things. Maybe we can arrive at what could have been some of the reasons behind the president's decision.
Right.
First of all, Honorable Mchima was handling a very sensitive ministry, a ministry that has been going through a lot of allegations and negative news in terms of misappropriation of drugs, corruption. The audit report that was done in July 2024 showed very glaring crimes being committed. People stealing medicine, people misapplying medicine, people misapplying funds. And that audit led to Zambia losing the aid of up to a tune of about $51 million, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
This ministry has continued to be problematic because even today, as we are speaking, we have NEMA, which is failing. The allocation of money which goes to NEMA is so minimal that a lot of us patients, when we go to hospitals under NEMA, we are not being attended to. That's a serious crisis we are going through. And ministers like Honorable Mchima I'm very sure that when the president was making changes, he expected them to deal with the issues of the corruption at ZAMSA, the allegation of theft at ZAMSA, and also the failure of NEMA. NEMA is in a crisis. I think that the president clearly wanted the minister to deal with these issues. Whether these issues have been dealt with satisfactorily, no, they have not been dealt with satisfactorily.
There could be volunteer workers as well, health workers. I think that were in the recent past, it was controversial that, they volunteered for too long and they needed to be employed. I think there was exchange of statements between them and the minister as well.
That also has been very problematic. So we cannot put the issues of corruption on the minister because he found these issues.
Right.
Okay, he found these issues, but there was need for the minister to take very proactive and serious corrective measures to deal with the issues of voluntary nurses, health workers who have been on the list for far too long, and to deal with the issue of NEMA because it's a crisis, it's not working. NEMA is in a crisis. We expected him to sort out the problems of NEMA and also to put up measures to deal with the problems at ZAMSA. I think those were not done. I know the minister was very active in as far as dancing is concerned. I've seen a lot of his videos. We applaud him for the service rendered. The president was right to make this decision. And one of the things that are critical about presidents is that you make the decisions, the tough decisions. And the president was right decision to fire Honorable Mchima. In my opinion, looking at the performance at the Ministry of Health, which has really been littered with challenges.
But what changes do you think the president would really see if he was to replace him with the remaining time before we get into the dissolution of parliament?
Yes, there's very little time. We are going to elections in the next couple of months.
Yeah.
Today is it 19th February?
Right.
We are having elections on the 13th of August, which is about...
And parliament will be dissolved
in the next 180 days or less.
Right.
There isn't much that can be done now, but remember that government is a going concern. And the programs of government can run for the next 100 years. You can plan for the next 100 years. And this is one of the things that we don't do well as a country. We don't plan for the future. So we need to plan beyond today. And anybody who come there to be a cabinet minister, whether in this administration or the next administration, whether there'll be a change of government or there'll be continuation of government, must deal with matters of corruption at ZAMSA, with issues of inefficiency and ineffective management and administration at ZAMSA. They have to deal with the collapse of NEMA because NEMA has collapsed. They have to deal with the issue of NEMA, but we also have to deal with issues of primary health care. Some of these problems that we have, and this reminds me of President Edgar Chagwa, may so continue to rest in peace. He used to say some problems that we have when you go to see the doctor, they'll just tell you this patient needs to eat and rest. So primary health care is about food. People must have access to food. And we're talking about food being affordable. We're talking about the stress of life being managed. A lot of people are going through serious stress today. Personal problems, personal loans, personal financial challenges. All these issues, have a serious bearing on your entire health system. So whoever needs to come there, a health issue is not just simply a matter of the physical condition of the people, but it also has to do with the economic condition of the people, the financial condition of the people. Because people that eat well, people that live in houses with proper water reticulation, proper sanitation, people that live in environment that are properly clean and environment that are safe to live in, have long, safe, healthy lives compared to people that live in environments where water reticulation is a problem, sanitation is a problem. So it's a complex ministry and the complex issues that whoever comes there, whether it is the continuation of this administration or the next administration, has to deal with these issues.
But with this period of time that I keep making reference
we need to plan beyond.
I mean, you just have a few days, like you mentioned, before parliament is dissolved. Is this the time you expect the president to say, I will assume the position of Ministry of Health for the sake of the period left?
I think that would be looking at the very fact that we only have a few days to go. But we need to look at the sensitivity of the ministry. The president sitting there, will it be adequate for him to allocate enough time. Remember, the president is the president of all ministries.
Maybe to understand more of the problems. An
could help
opportunity
him,
for
but,
him to understand the bigger problem.
Minister of Health. That ministry needs a full-time job. Somebody has to be there on a full-time basis. Let's forget about the fact that the parliament will be dissolved very soon, but Zambia is not dissolving. We're just having a break to go to the elections. So whoever is going to be there has to help the president plan for how we are going to come out of this problem, has to help to plan for the next 10 years. I know you haven't asked, but I saw that also the
minister... Yes, the Minister of Small and Medium Enterprise Development, Honorable Elias Mwanza, equally, and I would want speculation on the same as well. What do you think could have led to him relieving Minister of Small, Medium and Enterprise Development?
Now, again, this is a very sensitive ministry. About 90%, actually not 90%, but over 90% of all businesses in this country are small and medium enterprises. If I have to be very specific, 97% of all businesses in this country are small and medium enterprises. And they contribute about 70% to the national GDP. The people that are in the informal sector in this country are about 81%. Meaning batamanga bametigulisa nsuko, bametigulisa ma 7 days, bametigulisa moba, bameneti zungulu katigulisa gospel of God. You know, gospel now is a business. Those people that are on the streets, on the road, in the markets, in the farms, and suppliers to the government and contractors to the government, we form 80% of the workforce of this country. We only have about 3.9 million Zambians employed in the formal sector. That's 3.9 million. And also, out of this 3.9 million, over 1 million of these get a salary of between 1,500 kwacha and 2,500 kwacha. So the majority of the Zambian population, for the women, for the youths, are in the informal sector. Small scale, medium scale enterprises. So this is a critical governance issue, and the Ministry of Small Scale and Medium Enterprises Development is a critical ministry. Unfortunately, this has been one of the most underperforming ministries under Honorable
Mwanza.
I can't even remember his name.
Mwanza.
Yeah, Honorable Elijah Mwanza.
Elias Mwanza, yes.
That ministry has been underperforming, and actually, the president has taken too long to make changes at that ministry. Because if you ask me today, the majority of small and medium enterprises are falling. People are closing shops. You can go to North Mid, people are closing shops. You can go to shopping malls, people are closing shops. You can go to our markets, people are closing shops. You can go to our mothers, they'll tell you, maoda nga nizoenda kumaoda nizogula vintu va 500 kwacha per day, lero noda vintu va 200 kwacha per day. Why? Because the majority of our people have no access to capital. And the ministry has got a duty to help government structure programs that can help small and medium enterprises to have access to finance. They were supposed to work with the private sector, the banks and financial institutions to help our small and medium enterprises have access to finances. That has never happened. Government put aside 870 million kwacha, 870 million kwacha for small and medium enterprises. I'm very sure that the majority of the people listening to this program are not even aware of this amount of money, because much work was not done in terms of publicity. A lot was not done in terms of helping to have access to this money. It was the job of the minister to make sure that this 870 million kwacha that was allocated to the SME development ministry is actually known and accessible to a wider majority of our small and medium enterprises. Look at Zachariah. Zachariah has been very punitive to our small and medium enterprises. First, the certificates that you need to pay for you to just do a business, or on do a business, you need to clear with Zema, you need to clear with this, you need to clear with this, and all those are huge amounts that you need to pay. And a lot of these businesses are struggling with statutory requirements like NAPSA, workers' compensation, ZRA, the ministry was supposed to come in and help our small and medium enterprises to deal with these problems. ZRA is there not to punish our people. ZRA is failing to collect taxes from the mines, but it has been so adamant on our small and medium scale enterprises. And our people are suffocating under tax. This ministry has been moribund. This minister has underperformed. And I think the president again has taken the correct measure to make these changes. And in my view, these changes could have happened a very long time. He's delayed to make these changes. They were supposed to happen a very long time. This ministry has failed to perform.
Into politics, I know that this year is an election year, and with the time that is left to get into an election, you do not expect a disorganized opposition as we are seeing the opposition today. I mean, before we came on this program, you literally said to me that this does not include your political party. But
we're very organized. We are not part of the Manyengwe, which is going on.
But what do you make of the fact that with the time left to get into an election, we still have an opposition that doesn't look united?
Yeah, that's a very critical issue. And I think that is one of the things that all of us as Zambians have to put our heads on. Politics in this country has lost meaning because it is no longer about service. It's about ukwakanefpuna no kulia. It's not about service. And I can tell you that 8 months before elections and a couple of days before the dissolution of parliament, the majority of us politicians, we spend a lot of our time attacking one another instead of telling the Zambian people what we are going to do different from what the UPND is doing. And we have made politics to be so unattractive to a point whereby if you are in opposition, your role is to oppose everything that government does. Even if it makes sense, you just have to oppose. Because that's how we have structured our opposition political parties. To an extent that when you agree with what government has done, you are labeled as a sellout. I remember one day I wrote an article about free education because I am a product of free education. UNIP free education. MMD free education. I was a student under UNIP, I was a student under MMD, and I've been a student under PF, I've been a student under UPND. I'm a product of free education of UNIP and MMD. And where I stay, every day I look at young people, vana va skulu, valipe vovala, valipe ma uniform, valipe nsapato, vaenda na mendo, kwenda kuskulu, na vigamba. What comes into my mind is, their parents don't have the money to pay for school fees, to pay for uniforms, to pay for school shoes. And since the free education was reintroduced by UPND, we have had about 8 million children that have benefited from the free education. 8 million children, with 3.5 million children new entrants. For a person who is a beneficiary of free education, and for a person who believes that education is a pillar to development, that education is a fundamental right for everybody, I support that policy. And even if we mean government today, that is a policy that we're going to deal with. But we also raise the issues concerning the quality of education. So we are doing very well in as far as the quantity of education is concerned, because millions of young people who had no opportunity to go to school have been given an opportunity to go to school. But now we have to deal with the matters of how do we improve the quality. Remember, we had the problem of desks. When this free education started, a lot of children were sitting on the floor. I think government has done enough today that a number of our children now are sitting on the desks. They're not sitting on the floor. But we have to do at the pupil-teacher ratio. We need to employ more teachers. We need to deploy more teachers. We need to look at school space. We need to build more school spaces, build more schools, more laboratories, and invest more in science, maths, engineering, and technology. So when we say free education is working, and it's a correct thing UPND has done, because of the toxicity of our political environment, you're going to be saying, no, Mourinho Mwanza, and let's support our UPND. I'm supporting the free education policy. It is working. I'm a trained teacher from the University of Zambia.
Is that an indication that
I'm a
should
trained
you?
teacher
Is
from
that
the
an
University of Zambia.
indication? Is that an indication that
Yes.
should you be elected or your party be elected in government, this is a policy you are not changing?
This is a policy we are going to keep, and this is a policy we are going to expand. So we need to reach those levels. You know, for instance, even democracy in the United States, there's what they call bipartisanship, where both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party come to the table and say, on these issues, we need to agree because these, they benefit the Zambian people. The things that don't benefit the Zambian people, it's our job as opposition to raise them up. And it's our job to hold the UPND accountable. But it's also our job to provide alternatives to what UPND is doing. But because our politics has become so toxic and so poisonous, we fail to discuss these issues openly without being accused. And it's the same even for those in government. When something is wrong, they must have the courage to say, this is wrong. They don't have the courage to say that because immediately says that, he says, we are the opposition. So we want to shy away from that because we have a country that has serious challenges that we need to address. We've got about 9 million young people that have no jobs. We've got a country which only uses 25% of arable land for production. Our agriculture is failing. We have got a country that is failing to produce food. We've got a country that is importing up to $450 million worth of dairy products. Tichita import my eggs, masumbi. Tichita import mukaka. Tichita import cheese. These are the things we'll be talking about. How do we use the $450 million we are using to import these things to create our own industries here in Zambia so that our own young people can have the jobs, our own young people can have the businesses. We have a country whereby, for instance, we made $7.6 billion US from the sale of mining. And government has done quite a lot to make sure that we revitalize the mining industry. The KCM saga, which has been problematic, is behind us. The Mopani issues, which have been problematic, have been dealt with. But I have a problem with the issue of who is benefiting more from the mines. Because out of the $7.6 billion that was made in 2024-2025 from the 820,000 plus metric tons of minerals that were sought, copper that was sought, government only makes 15 to 20%, which is about 1.1 billion to 1.5 billion US dollars. Our view as Democratic Progressive Party is that for as long as mining is in the hands of foreign investors, there is nowhere this country is going. We need the majority shareholding of the mines to be in the hands of the Zambian people. We need mining firms to be processing and manufacturing mining products here. And I'm happy that the president said at the UN that the government, his government, is no longer interested in exports of raw copper materials, raw copper cathodes. Because that's a direct.
That was at AU, actually.
At AU,
yeah,
right? At
yeah,
AU.
That's right.
That is the correct way to go. And if I say I totally agree with the president on this score, it doesn't mean I'm UPND. No, but I agree with this because that's what we stand for as DPP. We believe that we need to be doing processing and manufacturing. We should not be selling copper cathodes, raw copper. No. At this period, we should be making our own electric vehicles or electric vehicle parts or making cables, making wires, making copper products. That way, we'll create industries for our young people to be employed here. Do you know what is happening? What we are doing as a country essentially is that we're providing labor, cheap labor. Ngabaisa bamwisa. Ife ngabe na Zambia, ife tuchita provide cheap labor. Kuyamkuyimba. Twayamkuyimba ama minerals. Ngatwayimba ama minerals. With cheap labor, mulefula ma 3 pini, ma 2 pini, ma 4 pini. Then mwabapera bamwisa ma foreign investors bamkushitisha. Ngabashitisha ku Switzerland, in Brussels, in America, in China. You know what they're doing? They're setting up industries, manufacturing and processing industries, processing and manufacturing goods that they are selling the world over, including selling those goods back to us. And we buy our own goods. These phones we are using, these phones, there is our own minerals in these phones that are used to buy these phones. Those minerals are coming from Ufulira, they're coming from Northwestern, they're coming from Eastern. And yet we can't put up industries. And our policy as DPP is that, look, we need to ensure that the mining sector must focus on value addition right here. Let's put up industries to process our minerals. Let's put up industries to manufacture our own products. So when the president at AU said we are no longer interested in selling raw copper, we totally agree with that. It doesn't mean we're UPND, but we agree because that is progressive. And we don't make any apologies for supporting what is progressive. We are not in the politics of churches. That politics of churches have done it for 23 years. It only benefits a politician. It doesn't benefit a young child, a young person on the road who's looking for a job, because it doesn't give answers. It doesn't benefit a younger driver who is struggling 2,000 kwacha per week, because that doesn't reduce the cost of fuel. That kind of politics doesn't help a young mother who has a child at Unilag a year, because that kind of politics does not. So we are going to discuss issues and make provide the alternatives that this country has. And that's the politics we need.
The president, having come from the AU summit, he was obviously visited by a UN representatives who apparently sent so many praises on the UPND government under the leadership of Hakainde Hichilema for having improved the economy beyond average. Do you agree that that is the status quo, even when the so-called improved economy is not being felt by ordinary Zambians on the street?
So here we need to be very holistic in our approach. First of all, UPND has struggled with the issue of debt. Okay, the debt restructuring has taken too long, partly because of the geopolitics between China and the United States of America. We are spending over 30% of our budget. We are spending over 30% of our budget on debt servicing. That's a lot of money. Every single month, government revenue that comes to government, over 30% of that is used to pay back debt, including interest and arrears. So that's a huge expenditure. If you remove 30% on debt, 2025-2026 national budget, education got something less than 12%. Health got something less than 15%. If you put the Ministry of Education budget and the health budget together, they still fall short of what we are spending as a country on debt servicing. So debt has been a huge problem. It's been a huge problem. The solution to that is to maximize on taxation from the mining sector. And these are the things that we want the UPND government to pay attention to, because these are solutions, actual solutions, to help the country and to help them in government and to help all of us. So let's look at what builds the economy of this country. Number one is mining. It contributes 70% to our national GDP. No, not national GDP. It contributes 70% of the total foreign exchange earning. 70%. And it contributes less than 15% to our GDP. Mining, despite being the largest industry, only contributes up to 3% of the total workforce. 3%. All these mines you talk about, Mopani, KCM, name all of them combined together, they employ less than 100,000 people. Less than 100,000 people. Less than 3% of the entire economy, entire workforce. So you can see that the mining sector is not labor intensive. It is financial intensive because it requires a lot of money for you to run a large scale mining. So there's a mismatch. 70% of all our foreign exchange earnings come from the mining sector, yet it only contributes 3% to our workforce. Only 100,000 people, only 100,000 people are employed in the mine. And the issue of their wages is an issue. The issue. Number two contributor, because there are 5 areas that contribute more to our economy, which we are talking about, the 5% was coming in after the 2020 COVID. We went because COVID ravaged all economies, not only Zambia's economy, it ravaged European economy, American economy, Chinese economies, they were all ravaged. And we went into negative in terms of growth. But let's look at this. So mining, 70% only contributes 15%. 70% to foreign exchange earnings, but only contributes less than 15% to GDP. Number 2 is construction. Now, the majority of all the tenders that go into construction are going to foreign-owned companies. Even the dual carriageway, which is financed by our own money from NAPSA and the Pensions Board, the dual carriageway has gone to foreign companies. Okay, where is the money going? It's being taken out of this country. The money is not coming back. It's being taken out of the country. The other sector is the communication sector, telecommunication. Who are the major players in telecommunication? Is Airtel and MTN. But Zamtel, which is government owned, has a very small market share. The majority of this money, you remember when the president was in parliament, he said that mobile money has reached up to 400 plus billion kwacha, mobile exchange. That is, every profit that is made is going to either India or South Africa, because that's where MTN and Airtel money comes from. MTN and the Airtel comes from. They come from India and South Africa, respectively. The other sector that is putting the economy up is the banking, finance, and insurance. Now, we've got literally 17 banks in this country. And out of these 17, 15 are foreign-owned. 2, we have some shares in Zanaco, we have some shares in Indo-Zambia Bank. The banking sector has over 126 billion worth of financial portfolio. The majority of this money is going outside where these companies are coming from. They are foreign companies, and they make the profits, they ship the profits out of this country. The other sector that is contributing to the GDP is manufacturing, retail, and trading. Now, just to go mkomboni, tunthemba manje tunankhala toma Rwandiza. Go muno mametirire mukablonga. All these shopping malls are owned by foreigners. Go to Kamala, mashop yambiri, they are owned by foreigners. Even kumanga sisi, banachoka ti bakasai bachani bamanga masisi Mozambique. You go to the mining sector, for instance, government has put up a 20% local content policy. On paper, it's a very good policy, but government has to work on implementation. Because what is happening is that if you are going to be given contracts only to provide the uniforms or transport or food, that is not enough. Where money is in the mining of our gold, of our sugilite, of our copper. And that's where our investments have to be. So in terms of our GDP, how do we make sure that these good things that are happening right now, that the inflation has reached a single digit, which is a good thing, and we have to applaud. It's good for business. It's good for the cost. It reflects the cost. The prices are going up. Fuel prices, we have seen that there has been a reduction in the fuel prices, but we also hope that it doesn't go up and down as it has been happening. We have seen also that the kwacha has strengthened against the major convertible currencies. I was checking today, I think it is 19 kwacha per dollar. But whether this can be sustainable depends on the following. Number one, it's who makes the most of this money. From mining, it is foreigners. Manufacturing, trade, and retail is foreigners. Banking, finance, and insurance is foreigners. Construction is foreigners. The only time that we will feel the benefit of this economy is when we own and control the economy. We must have majority holding in mining. And for us as DPP, we propose that strategic minerals like sugilite, gold, they should be exclusively for the Zambian people. Only youths must be given the licenses, they must be given the training, they must be given the money, they must be given the equipment to deal with mining of gold and sugilite, and we don't want foreigners to be involved in the mining of gold and sugilite. No, give it to the Zambian people. The Zambian youths will sell that to ZCMIH, and ZCCMIH, through the Bank of Zambia, will make sure that the Bank of Zambia is holding that gold as a reserve. And that helps our kwacha, it helps our foreign reserves, and it helps our understanding, it helps our economy. In terms of construction, we have enough Zambian companies with enough experience that can be given major construction jobs from government, because these jobs are government jobs. Construction of schools, construction of bridges, construction of hospitals. These are government jobs. And we have enough experienced Zambian local companies that can be given these jobs. And they can come together as consortium, just like those who are doing the dual carriageway have come together as a consortium, or foreign companies that have come together as a consortium. We can do that and give jobs to our own people. We need to make it mandatory that large-scale mining firms must also put not less than 20% of their entire electricity requirement should be produced by themselves. The way Dangote cement, achita produce malaiti yake. He doesn't rely on ZESCO because we are giving pressure on ZESCO. The ZESCO ZESCO board manager. Yesterday I read a statement on News. He says that we are spending, we are borrowing to import 551 megawatts of power to deal with the load shedding. The question is it sustainable? That's a question we should always ask ourselves. Is this thing sustainable? It's not. So we need money to invest not only in hydro, but like what government is doing in solar. I've seen that there's a Chinese firm that has come to negotiate on the issues of nuclear energy. But we have to look at this thing is, where is the money going to come from? The money is going to come from the taxes. Before I was coming for this program, I was going through the taxation because I was reading where the president was saying that he wants ZRA to improve the ability to mop up the money in terms of taxes. So I get concerned every time I look at these things. I go, I read, I research. I found that ZRA, the managing director of ZRA himself, the director general of ZRA, Vadingani, Banda, Commissioner General, thank you for that, says that less than 0.2% of the Zambian eligible taxpayers are paying tax. And there were specific figures that I was looking at when I was doing my study. And I realized that one of the reasons why tax compliance is low could be issues of finance, issues of businesses are not doing very well. But our focus as a country should be on who makes more money should pay more tax. And the people that should pay more tax are the mining companies. They are making billions of dollars in profits, billions of dollars. So our proposal as DPP is that, number one, the tax holidays must be removed. Government must remove tax holidays because we are losing billions of from the mining sector alone. I looked at the numbers from Financial Intelligence Center, from the Auditor General's reports, from reputable international financial institutions that do analysis and trends, projections and statistics. We are losing up to 4.8 billion every year from the mining sector alone in tax transfer pricing, tax evasion, tax avoidance, as well as when we give them these tax refunds. That money is the money we need to invest in our energy sector. We need to reduce the cost of malaiti. We need to reduce the electricity tariffs. We need to reduce the fuel costs. How can we do it? If we get the tax, then we can pump into the energy sector and subsidize fuel, subsidize the electricity. If you subsidize fuel and subsidize electricity, you are sure that the cost of production will go down. Once the cost of production goes down, the cost of goods, the cost of services will also go down. So we have what it takes. We have arable land, we've got water, we've got sugilite, we've got gold, we've got copper, we've got mukula, we've got everything. We even have got a young population, young people, okay, who are educated, they've been to school, they are trained, they are energized. But what is lacking is proper planning, because we still believe somehow, we still believe that this country will develop if we allow more foreigners to come in and set up companies. No, we have had foreign direct investment since 1890. Up to date, the foreigners have come to this country. They have mined, they have cut our wood, they have killed our wildlife. But we have not improved as a country. So the trickle-down effect will only come if Zambians own and control the economy. If the money is being made here, the cheap labor is being produced here, but the money is being shipped not going anywhere. That's why when I was in Mtenguleni, some foreign friend of mine told me, ndalama ni ziko ni lanu, ndalama ni zatu. Ziko la kawena, ndalama la kamina. So we are reducing ourselves to be just. If you go to this dual carriageway which is being constructed, and for that we have no apologies to say the government did the right thing to have that road, but we don't agree with the model of giving that contract to foreign companies. No, we believe the Zambian companies could have come together as a consortium and could have been given that contract. We believe the Zambian money which was used could have come back by those Zambian companies being given the contract and getting the toffees which could still help us. But if you go on that dual carriage road, the people that you find doing the actual work are Zambians. They are not foreigners. Tumaforeigner tungache tukudia so hapa metikamba so kaliche kakudia na breakfast katamba kali mchimotoka. The Zambians are the ones digging. The Zambians are the ones laboring. The Zambians are the ones who go down on the mines kwenda kukumba miala, kuchosa miala. But when miala ya choka ya bwera, my foreigners batenga wenda gulisa, and we are told, we tell ourselves continuously that we can't run a mine. Let's learn from what Botswana has done. They have taken 70% of their gemstone industry. 70% is run and owned by the Tswanas themselves. Let's take an example of what Namibia has done with the oil sector. The oil sector in Namibia has taken 52% of the oil sector. They are running it and they're owning it. Let's take an example of what is happening in Chile. Chile has taken 80% of the entire mining sector is run and owned by the Chileans themselves. Let's take example of Japan. Japan has done the same. The issue is simple. If you don't own the economy, if you don't run the economy, it cannot work for you. It cannot work for your people. It's like a maid. Asewenza muli boss na chinyumba chikulu chimanshoni upstairs. But si chake. Napogona gona chepa kona. But that's what is happening to us as a country. So we need to change. And our proposal is simple. Mining, construction, health, agriculture, trade, manufacturing, finance, insurance, banking. The Zambian government and the Zambian people should have the majority stakeholder holding share. If we don't have that, we can cut as many ribbons as we want, and we can say to ourselves, we have brought as many foreign investors as we want, but that will not work. You can give an example of what is happening with fertilizer. Why is the fertilizer price not coming down? It's simple. We are giving foreign companies up to $400 million worth of contracts in our FISIP, and yet we can use half of that to set up our own industries to produce our own fertilizer. We can use a quarter of that to invest in the nitrogen chemicals of Zambia, and the nitrogen chemicals of Zambia will be able to produce up to 308,000 of metric tons of fertilizer. We can reduce the cost, we can create our own jobs, we can create our own industries. We are not doing that. So yes, the economy is doing far much better than it was in 2021 on microeconomic terms. And I want to be clear, as far as the macroeconomic terms are concerned, the macroeconomic terms have stabilized. Inflation is single digit. The kwacha has continued to gain strength. There's been a lot of stability. We are able to pay back our debt. We're able, remember, we were failing to pay debt. We had even gone into a default. But now we are able to pay back our debt. We're able to service our debt every single month. Those are macro indicators, and they are performing very well. The real job now is the microeconomics. The microeconomics ni pamala mdala. Vantu kaunga kachipe, vantu ka transport kachipe, vantu ka renti kachipe, vantu ka access to finance, ka loni, ku banki, ndiye tumewafuna. Kalandi, akwanisa kushita access, those are the things, and this is where the politics is, because that is where the people are, is on the micro level. So kudos. As far as macro indicators are concerned, the government has done very well with macroeconomic indicators. They've done very well, and we can't apologize on that. They've done very well. But the microeconomic indicators, that's where the work is.
This is the Thursday edition of The Burning Issue here on the Happy Word of 5 FM radio. Our guest is Mr. Mourinho Mwanza. He is a Democratic Progressive Party. And we are also live, remember, on BMTV, channel 114 on Topstar, and live also on Katete FM, Spice FM, iWave FM, Platinum Radio, ZFM, Muchinga Radio, Tuta FM, and Isunga Radio. Now, remember that later in the course of the program, I will open the phone lines. Look out for those who are following us on Facebook. The number that you'll be calling on is scrolling right on your screen. And I will also be taking your comments, especially your questions on our Facebook page. So get ready for that. But before we get into phone calls, your thoughts on the process taken by government to eradicate illegal mining.
So when the army commander, it should be General Jele, issued a statement that the army will exterminate, and if I'm correct, fumigate illegal miners. That statement was received with a lot of mixed feelings. And as Democratic Progressive Party, DPP, we did issue our position on that matter. And our position is informed on the following. And in case people don't know, just on Monday, the South African government has unleashed the army to deal with the problem
on illegal mining.
Mining in South Africa.
Yeah, that's right.
We need to learn from what is happening in other places. Congo is in a security crisis, and Congo has been at war for a very long time. We have problems in countries like Mali. We had problems in Chad. We have problems in Congo. Now we have problems in South Africa as a result of illegal mining. So illegal mining is a serious risk to the peace and security of the country. And on issues of peace and security, we should not play politics, because you don't play with people's lives. We can do politics. If this is politics we like doing, actually not this is very serious. Maybe we can be doing politics, but we can't do politics with the issues of lives of our people. So from the experiences we have had from other countries, including South Africa now, which is grappling with the problem of illegal mining, we should learn. And the army and the army commander and the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, the president, was right to issue the instruction to the army for the army to do the job that they did to clean up miners who were involved in illegal mining. I've got friends who are into mining of gold. They were also very concerned with the security situation in these places where there's an issue of illegal mining. So it was the right thing to stamp out illegal mining. It's a right thing, it's a right call, and we support that 150%. But what we need to do now is to identify the young people who are already involved in the mining of gold, but also identify young people who are interested. We identify them as government, put them in cooperatives, give them the licenses, but also give them the training. It's important that people are trained. One of the reasons why we have a problem with the repayment of loans is because of the way we give out these government loans. Tipasa chabe makada. And if they think ni vaboma ni kutenga chabe ndrama na kudia. We should learn from what is happening with CDF loans and how we are failing to recoup that money. We should learn with what is happening with youth empowerment loans and how we are failing to recoup that money. We need to train our young people, first of all, in the skills of the trade so that they understand how this business operates. But also, we have a duty to train our young people to change their mindset, to know that this is not government money, nindramaza boma to help you establish your business. That's what we need to do. Number three, the government must work with the financing sector. You can work with the bank using this is why this firing was timely. We can work with the Ministry of Small Scale and Medium Enterprises, working together with the banks to identify, and the government can work as a guarantor to guarantee the loans that can be given to these cooperatives. I prefer personally that what should be given should not just be money more, but they should be given equipment to mine. They should be given the equipment to identify where the gold is, given the equipment to mine, given the equipment to process that gold, and they can be selling it to ZCCMIH, and they can be selling it to Bank of Zambia. So we need to formalize the sector. I know government has taken some of the steps. I've heard the Minister of Mines, but I think more needs to be done. It's the right thing, it's the right direction, but more needs to be done, especially in terms of financing, in terms of training, in terms of equipment, and in terms of putting up specific measures to make sure that this money is not wasted the way we are wasting money with CDF loans and the youth empowerment loans. That sector alone can create up to 1 million jobs for young people. And that's why for us as DPP, we are saying the gold sector will be specifically for women and young people, and no foreigner shall be allowed. But also government can look at issues of emeralds. You know that they have removed the 15%, if I'm not mistaken, 15% export duty. It should be 10 to 15% export duty. That action alone is making the country lose up to $150 million. That is money that we need. We can't afford to lose any more coin. We need that money to put in schools, hospitals. That money, $50 million, which we are losing from emerald sales, if we were to put that money in NEMA, we'd be able to have drugs for our people. We'll be able to have the proper safety for our people in our clinics. We need that money. So it was the correct thing. We need to. Lawlessness should not be allowed in the name of. Lawlessness is not empowerment. Lawlessness is a risk to national security, and it's easy to deal with it than to deal with a full-blown breach. Because we have seen what is happening in Congo, we have seen what is happening in Mali, we have seen what is happening in Chad, we have seen what is happening in South Africa. We need to deal with, in South Africa, the president is now dealing with gangs. And the people, South Africa is now one of the most unsafe places to live in the world because of the gang violence, driven primarily by illegal mining. So illegal mining should not be allowed, but we should formalize the sector, and we should train our young people, give them the equipment, give them the money, but regards to ensure that the people's money is protected.
Thank you very much for your response on that and many others. And of course, our guest this morning is Mourinho Mwanza, Democratic Progressive Party President. And we are now going to take your calls, and we'll also be reading your comments on our Facebook page. Remember, it's 5FM Radio Zambia. Like the page, share it. And also you can go to BMTV Facebook page as well. Like it, you can share it, leave us a comment, we'll be grateful. Remember, we are live, not only here in Lusaka on 89.9, but we are also live in on Isunga FM in Northern Province, Senga Hill to be precise, and also on Tuta FM in Mansa, Muchinga Radio in Chinsali, ZFM in Kapiri, Platinum Radio in Ndola, iWave FM in Chungola, Spice FM in Kabwe, Katete FM in Katete and Eastern Province. And remember, BMTV channel 114 on Topstar is also carrying this program live. So the number you're calling us on is 0955-221515. For those following on our Facebook page, you can look out for that number. It's scrolling right on your screen. Let's take this call. Good morning. Hello, good morning. We don't seem to have a clear line there. Let's try and take another one. Good morning.
Zach, good morning.
Morning. Thank you very much for calling. Please say your name and where you're calling us from.
Thank you. Mourinho Mwanza,
Abel.
Abel
From
Kabwe.
Kabwe.
Abel tulifyowe mlishani kanabesa.
Yes, Abel.
Mourinho Mwanza kunikonka mubuno kumulela ndanini konka mubuno nga mukashaka atondo ko mwatambira nepo twafika pa mkoa ama phone calls. Mourinho Mwanza na wako disappointed with you over cash. Onkulanda kwa ndivyo na vera disappointed. Number one, You are sounding like Nava Mishita. You Nava Mishita could be PNG. The same way, my opponent PF, that's the same way my opponent on PNG. Because we are trying to give opposition. Let's give some alternatives to this government. Number no condition among our opposition. So, Antonio Mwanza, are you telling me to say, oh, you should some if free education to say, free education, you now, can you education no more than the free education need to find them there by it. Kuskurava very over the Kapamavuna Soti, Imatamulimona, Kuskurava very Okabulama informs, Imatamulimona. Can you compare the free education near the Keke Matam Bidiremu? If I can to say this free education, you prop to us. We want no Matam Bidire. That's the free education over Plan Akuja. Then coming Kuya Shia. Like him for today. It's a welcome call. You wake up call at least Nangaba Tankin to a Pavaco Colano Cocola. Like over to Areland. Rather than the Paris containers, Natapa Mokumieko, Bamuch Memory dividing the Kutan coaching. I just containers because you have our position. Why you know Kulanda Paris containers? Number Palero Tishamlandi. I want your answers. Multiple response because Bamuchimabari Usangro, that in the as you are coming in office in Mweveni, and then Manabati, Mwala campaign manager, the Tapin Marella and the party of PF Muricampin Garungu today, in the Mubala Tipolia, Aparicio Water Pomukasari. After Monday, I'm seeing you, Mukambo Kulanda Tiapa Kuboko. Because you've been a leader of a party. After Monday, we need to give them alternatives, not in some Kutasha.
Thank you.
What on the alternatives, your Malay Nina no Kutonta to say, Momazanga and Pete Voter up. Then you just president in the Potaman.
Thank you. Thank you, Abel.
I thought I've given a lot of alternatives.
But you want us to be praising like you.
Thank you, Abel. Thank you, Abel, for that. Let's quickly take some more. Let me take some more on 0955 221515. And while we are at it, prominent Noah on Facebook says, good morning, Zach and President Antonio Mourinho Mwanza. The UPND government has failed to fulfill their promises, all of them. None of the promises Hakainde Hichilema has fulfilled. Farmers haven't been paid to date. They have just improved in dancing and dressing. Look at how they are looking and dancing today. Venezuaniso Muchima, Frank Tayali, and how they used to dress then compared to today. Twambo C. Mungule says UPND have fulfilled most of the promises they made. That fact, even Mr. Antonio Mwanza, no. So we really do have a mix of listeners who feel others have fulfilled, others feel promises have not been fulfilled. But let me give you Sandra's Jabulani Soko's comment on Facebook, who says, good morning, Antonio. The way you are coming out, are you sure UPND has not invited you? Let me take another call and then I will allow you to respond. Good morning. Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Morning, thank you very much. Please share your name and where you're calling us from.
I'm calling within Osaka.
Okay, and your name is?
Derek.
Come again? Derek.
Derek, yes.
Yes, please, Derek. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll talk about something concerning security.
Right.
Yeah, like Mr. Antonio Mwanza alluded to. There is this issue that everyone is paying a blind eye to.
Right.
I don't know if you, our leaders, is because you don't stay in these high density areas, compounds. I'm talking about compounds. Are you not seeing something like this is a time for the junkies? That the government seems to quickly, and I mean quickly, take action. This thing is a time ticking bomb. I stay in the compound. I am seeing what is happening. These guys have trained to be more than vicious animals.
kitamba zamba na abantu manje mzuri wamenyewa abantu so kitamba so, and this thing is countrywide. And remember that's what man Mourinho Mwanza just because sumukana mkomboni, and the people have cried about this junk everything, and nothing is being done. I would want a comment from this, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll let you respond to those that have come through
thanks.
so far.
So let me, I don't know who to start with. First, let me just help Babel. And this is what my opening remarks were. We formed DPP to provide leadership. We did not form DPP for a shouting match. I'm not a media director for a political party. I'm a president of a political party. I desire to lead this country. I need to exercise the highest levels of maturity, honesty, sincerity, and focus. We have talked about the alternatives that we need to do to build this country. And we've been very clear that for as long as we don't own and control the economy, we'll spend with the next 100 years talking about foreign investors and will not benefit. I don't know whether I was listening or I was not listening. We've given clear, practical alternatives in the mining sector, that we need to have ownership of the mines, that we need to have manufacturing and processing industries set up right here in Zambia to create the hundreds of thousands of jobs that we need for our young people. I don't know if he was listening. We talked about fertilizer. We said fertilizer, we are spending about $450 million contracting foreign companies to provide us with fertilizer. Why don't we get that money and inject it in setting up our own firm to produce our own fertilizer? I don't think he was listening to that. We talked about the issue of agriculture, that agriculture cannot just be maize, and that 6 bags of maize is not a solution, that farmers must be given a minimum of about 20 bags of maize. It can produce up to 60 to 120 bags of maize, and they can sell that maize for export. They're not just selling that maize to FRA. FRA is bankrupt. They don't have money. We need agriculture for export. That is what the farmers who are making money in Zambia are doing. If you go to Mukushi, if you go to Kawe, if you go to any place where farmers are making money, they are farming for export. They're not farming to provide that maize to FRA. Our position on maize to FRA, that maize must come from the prison service. It must come from Zambia National Service. They're the ones who are supposed to produce maize for FRA, because FRA is broke. I don't know if he was listening. We've talked about this youth unemployment can only be dealt with, for instance, when the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises is working with all the stakeholders to reduce the taxes that our small and medium enterprises businesses are paying. I even went as far as telling the numbers of how much small businesses we have. About 97% of all businesses are small businesses, and that the majority of these are having a hand to mouth. They have no access to finance. They have no access to markets. They also have a problem of how much they have to pay for their certificate. They have to pay ZRA, they have to pay ZEMA, they have to pay NAPSA, they have to pay pensions fund. I've explained all these things. I don't know whether he was listening. Now, he chooses saying to let Shaba UPND on free education, there are no apologies, because I see parents who cannot afford to take their children to school. Their children are sitting in a classroom. I raised the issue of the quality. I said we need to invest more in maths, science, technology. We need to have enough investment in teachers to reduce the teacher pupil ratio. I don't know if he was listening. I said we need to invest more to have laboratories that have got equipment. I don't know whether he was listening. He was not listening. He was waiting to call. Let's have a conversation about issues that affect the Zambian people. Zambia was not born in 2021. We have had Zambia since 1964. We have to look at how best can we do to make this country more, tolerable to everybody, to provide water, sanitation, food for everybody. And those are the things that me, as a president of DPP, is advocating for. So the issues that prominent Noah has raised of the issue of farmers not being paid, it's because we're waiting for food reserve agents to pay them. The question is, what is the budget that goes to FRA? Because the FRA has to pay the farmers based on the budget from the national budget. What is the budget to FRA? That institution is moribund. The FRA was established to provide strategic reserves. It was not made to provide business for farmers. So for us, our position is that food reserve agents should only be getting maize from Zambia National Service and from Zambia Correctional Service. Lekani ba ZNS wakazilima milisi wakazigulisa ku FRA. But for our farmers, we should give them enough mufundo, enough market. Remember this maize that the government has sold to Malawi. If, for instance, that maize, the government's role was to say, okay, Malawi, you need maize. What we are going to do, negotiate with the Malawi government. So all the farmers in Muchinga, in Ruapula, in these areas, which are close to Malawi, or Eastern Province and Muchinga, all the farmers, Malawi needs this amount of metric of tons of maize. And the government has negotiated with the government of Malawi. You are going to sell this millis to Malawi. Do you know how much money they would have made? They would have made more money instead of them selling to FRA. FRA is never going to be a solution for our farmers because FRA is broke. It's bankrupt. It's not an institution that can help our farmers. So those are alternatives that he was not listening. Sandra, have you been invited by UPAD? I've been invited by everybody. We've been invited by everybody.
Yeah,
we've been invited by everybody, but that's not an issue. Let's tackle the issue of junkies. Now, but Derek has raised a very critical issue of junkies, but junkies are a symptom, not the problem. They are a symptom of a failed mentorship and parenting structure, and they are a symptom of an economy that is failing to provide jobs for the youths. They are a symptom of an education system that does not prepare a graduate for the actual industry to go and work. These are symptoms of a failed education system. They are symptoms of a failed economic system. They are symptoms of a failed parental system. They are symptoms of a failed moral system. Because to begin with, when I was growing up, myself and yourself and many people that are listening to this program, sungaendi na chovala chonyowani kunyumba. My parents, first bazakumenya, and they'll make sure that uzabwerera nayo jezi konozi waitenga. But today, we have parents who accept their children to come home with cell phones, which the parents didn't buy. Mwana leta bread pa nyumba, tete wake ndiye bankala number 1 kuchosa plastic namba kudi. Without asking the child, why chosa kuti ndrama ya bread. We have a problem, a moral degradation, even when it comes to the places where we need to find moral guidance. We have seen how we used to go to church and how we go to churches these days. These days, people can dress in any way they want. In certain churches, they dress in whichever way they want. And there's no limit to what you can do. And we have seen how some churches use religion as a business to raise money, and they have commercialized it. Some people have done that. And we have also seen the issue of parenting has become problematic. So we have responsibilities ourselves as parents. Like Obama says, the government cannot teach a parent, a child, to read a book. It's my duty to check if my child has done homework. It's my duty, it's my responsibility as a parent to check mwana child homework, mwana enda skulu. It's my job to do those things. But the bigger problem we have are two. Apart from the issue of the failure in parenting, failure in the moral degradation, the other challenge we have is that we have an economy which creates jobs outside this country. We've talked about mining. The minerals are mined in Zambia, but the jobs are being created in Europe, in China, and in the USA. Because when you export those minerals, that's where the jobs are going. That's where the processing factories are. That's where the manufacturing industries are. They are being built at the backbone of our natural resource. So for as long as we don't have our own industries in this country, the issue of job creation will always be a problem. We'll be relying on jobs from government, which are civil service jobs, and those are limited because the government can't employ everybody. So our position as DPP is that the issue of jobs can only be dealt with if we industrialize. Can we create industries to produce our own matches, to produce our own phones, to produce our own batteries, to produce our own wires, to produce our own bacon, our own milk, our own bread? That's the only way you create jobs. But for as long as we just produce copper, we produce gold, we produce sujilite and export it, the issue of jobs will always be a problem. The last point on the issue of jobs, which is related to the junkies, is the education system. Are we preparing our young people for the actual industry? You did journalism. Some people didn't do journalism, but they're doing a fantastic job as a journalist, through practical ways. I've seen people that became journalists because they were going to the studio, wafaka microphone, and because of actual practice. So for us as DPP, we believe that the theoretical part of education should just constitute 30% of what students are learning in school. 70% must be practical. That's why mathematics, engineering, technology, AI now must be part of what constitutes the bigger chunk of what our people learn in schools. Then we can deal with these problems of junkies, we can deal with these problems of jobs, we can deal with these problems of poverty. If we don't do these things, and alternative, if we don't do these things, we'll continue to go through the same things. But what is right, I have a duty to say this is the correct thing to do. What is wrong, I have a duty to condemn, to say this is the wrong thing. Yerema politics mtwale chitari au media director awe. Itwali kula. First Corinthians chapter 1, verses 11 to 13. Twali kula, wabeo. I'm now the president.
Let's take calls. Good morning. Hello, good morning to you. Thank you for calling. Please share your name. Yes, please. Okay. Yes, Mr. Atembo, go ahead.
I want you to listen to me. First of all, I'll call upon peace to the Zambians and unity, and let's just differ in political ideas, but not in physical enmity. When we say Chiluba brought multipartism and the freedom of speech, TF brought infrastructure development, roads, hospitals, and UPND brought free education, and the unity, they are preaching unity, they are trying to improve on their score, whatever. It doesn't mean I'm a unique person when I say NMD brought multipartism. No, those are reality things. Antonio Mwanza, the way you have spoken, for me personally, I think you have grown up, and now I'm able to rely on somebody that I'm going to give an ear to such a program and listen to some alternatives. Now, I want you to give alternatives to this government that is there currently, that is trying hard to try and reduce the cost of fuel. What alternative? I overheard sometime way back that maybe government is going to bring ethanol, whatever petrol. How that program is, because, you know, if there is anything from Tanzanian route, we are dependent too much on Tanzanian route and supply of fuel. If there is this instability somewhere there, within 2 days, we are feeling the impact. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't have even stock fuel that can last us for 2 years in this country. I don't think we have that. Mm-hmm. We can't even stay for 5 years without the fuel coming into our country. What is your source or alternative in fuel, please? And also electricity. What do you think can be done to sustain us on that?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Hatembo. Let me take as many as possible for now on 0955221515. Good morning.
Wino Mulishan Kanabes.
Vanani?
Yombwe Edgar.
Va Edgar.
Edgar Yombwe
Mkwai konkanya nipo Mkwai.
Bagalamba mulelo ndola bwino sana Mourinho Mwanza. Eba politician tulefa yaba. Namumona free education inamulandako. Nakumabwe namulandako. Bagalamba mutwalirire amashwa ya mulela ndamulekule kyalo kya Zambia. Katulefa aba ngamwatumo ne abantu bamo muntu nganela ndebisuma tabasunina kalya yo. Lero kye bafaya abenje abantu kukwate butungu kipashita emoyine. Gite kitwapikishana kalya yo. Akira umva machu ya moyo badeki yo imwe muri ba opposition inga basata batakisheshani ba mwana wasa ile bali mu butungurushi. Basata bali mu opposition bali sata chaba mwana wasa gutati kwena mune ulebo mbabwino. Nochukula batie bufimbo upoke wali fimba so muntu byaki yo bufubana kwena bubi daitwa ya Mourinho Mwanza mwana ndogo ya politics ya kale twali aleka. Wapera ne chadembwa. Bagalamba tuli bonse imwe. esamupale na
Natasha Sanava Yombwe, all the way from Kabwe as well. Remember, you're calling us on 0955221515. Let's take some more. Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Moderator.
How are you today? Thank you for calling. Please share your name and where you're calling us from.
My name is Mike Michero, calling from Kabwe.
Mr. Michelo.
Good morning, Antonio Mwanza.
Good morning, Ba Michelo.
I thank you first of all from your explanation. I think if you set your Mwalanda of Moko and the program. Indeed, you get your Mwalanda of Kweboti, Marikula, Marichinjarevo. It's true. Being a leader, umuntu ringiro klasta differentiate. Oko wakuma, efyo wa mona kunu maneko urea, nefyo ure mona pari yuensta. Otherwise, muriba kikomo muri, some people will rebel you. Ureso tumfiroto, vari mishita, vari stance. Do not be discouraged. No konkerera abantu abashikula, abayimina kepamoten. True politics does not need to be arguing always. We need to acknowledge the fact and tell the public the truth in favor to put a charo chesi. Otherwise, I've got nothing much to say. I just want to thank you and encourage you that continue standing on the truth. Even being the advisor to the president, you qualify. Otherwise, the president should get where I want to be. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. I have some sentiments on our Facebook page. Lawrence Walia says, morning, Mr. Mwanza. You are now a man of the day. You are now objective. All right. John P. Pondala says, good morning, Mr. Zach and Mr. Antonio Mwanza. Mine is just to appreciate the kind of politics that you are playing, which deserves commendation. However, do not be swayed by those people who are calling you names for just pointing out some of the things you feel government has done tremendously well. And the way you are giving out credible checks and balances, please continue on the same trajectory. Bravo, Mr. Antonio Mwanza. And Wina Wamu as well says, good morning. Nitrogen chemicals of Zambia, capital fertilizer, are now exporting to 8 neighboring countries, which is, I believe, a commendable development. Now, quickly, let me take the last 2 phone calls, all right, and we begin to wind up. 2 phone calls, and we begin to wind up. We lost it, but call us back on 0955-221-515. Let's take this one. Good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Fine, thank you. And thank you very much for calling us. Please share your name and where you're calling us from.
This is James. I'm calling you from Livingston.
From Livingston. I didn't get your first name.
Yes, my name is James.
James.
Yes, sir.
Yes, James from Livingston. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Antonio Mwanza.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Fine. How are you, sir? Okay. First and foremost, thank you very much. You're enjoying the program very well. You're articulating well, sir. Continue the good work. You see, politics of assassination ended after Zambia got independence. This time, we are in the politics of competition. It's just a matter of competition. We are just competing in ideas, checks and balances. When we go back to Chiru Kaunda, Kaunda did a lot of good things. Chiruba did his part. Mwanawasa did his part. Arabi did his part. President Lungu did his part. And you have the current one, the incumbent one, President Hechet, who is also doing his part. So politics should not divide us. Who has worked or who has not worked. Where President Hechet is going to live, if Mr. Antonio Mwanza you are voted in, you also carry on with your own vision, of which you also bring new things that President Hechet has not seen. So as I conclude, let me talk about what is happening to our minds. Indeed, those people that were against the army commander when he made such a statement,
They were all over. Just after South African president addressed that issue and instructed the mine, the defense force, to ensure that they kept legal miners. I have not heard anyone, one of them, even Makebi Zulu, talking about it. They have been quiet. Why? Because that is a true demonstration to ensure that our people are freed from these crimes. Thank you very much.
We thank you very much, Mr. James, all the way from Livingston. We appreciate that you keep following our conversation live on our Facebook page and also live on BMTV. And that is on Top Star Channel 114. And also on other platforms, and that is Isunga Radio, Tuta FM, Muchinga Radio, ZFM, Platinum Radio, iWave FM, Spice FM, Katete as well. All right, so let's quickly take this particular one.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you very much for calling us. And please share your name and where you're calling us from.
You are talking to Morgan, and how are you?
Mr. Morgan, we are very thank you and delighted to have you. Please make your...
Before I come, and good morning. The voice I heard is maybe is Antonio Mwanza.
Yes, it is.
Antonio Mwanza.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much. Please go on.
I'm Ramu Murichani.
Tiri bwino mulamu muli bwanji kaya banja yanga ili bwanji nyumba.
To go ahead, before I go again, you went off air for 1 week. What happened? That and the director of programs. So we were so worried that what happened. So we went off air last week for 1 week. So now to continue, the first issue is we need moral. Yes, it's true. As Mwanza alluded, the moral is respect in the house. Makolo kunkala ulemu kulangiza bana monkalira, because our children is for the future tomorrow, the leaders tomorrow, and this is the issue. The respect starting in our home, from our home to the school, to the teacher, and the teacher is a second parent to us. That's a fact and that's the truth. Ngati iwe kolo libeulemu ndio olengesa mwana pozi mwana akabadwa lero kamba kuyamfula tikakamba iwe tete, this is a fire uzapya uyo muliro kakakulako kupasa manzi bakulu ni kugwada, starting from home, and respect starting from home from the parent. And when you are growing in UNIP, saying, kabwera bantu bamaliro nukunkala kumbali bakulu bakakala cholemba tinali kupoka kwenza na humanism in kaunda. Humanism was bankote baja bankala pa mauzu mwendo seula. So that is what it does. It was a model. That's what it was. Respect starts from home. So, and they should bring a subject for respect. I think secondary, Pangono, we are producing more here. And now we will own a dollar, yambo bwerela. So dollar ikabwerela, ndiye kuti bantu chamene mavotela, bamafuna kwa vintu vochipa. Chichosepo aba vintu votava dola. So chamene mafunda is easy life. But they are hard working. They are not begging. They are hard working. If you are hard working, then your salary is either chepa bread like a sugar. Then it's not good. So you go, if you kwacha ikankala na mpango, salary ukula bread upeleka bana ku school usonkela nyumba ukula petrol mu motoka yako ndiye kuti bantu bakondwela. That's the point. I think thank you so much and we are listening.
Thank you very much, and thank you, because you are our last caller and I would like your reaction so far.
Thanks. I think we have made a lot of progress.
Indeed.
Vija vau nyanshitwa vau media director. So media director wakupasa. This is your job, is kachite defend. And I tell my colleagues, abari mboma manje, nimawauza uta learn some things from Manzano, PF. The wrong things, learn. Kuti chinchoipa, we need to avoid. There are certain things that we have said, I have said personally, in my previous endeavors that sometimes I'm not proud of, and I've asked myself, why did I say that? But I think it's about learning. We learn things every day, tipunzira. And one thing that I've learned is that I desire to lead this country one day. And for as long as I desire to lead this country, I should also be prepared to have a mature, sober, but very passionate opposition. I wouldn't want to have an immature, toxic opposition when I'm president. I want an opposition that adds value to Zambia. And the reason why it's Napanga Chipanic is because we want to add value to Zambia. And the only way to add value to Zambia is not to politic. Zambia has enough politicians, and we can have our Facebook pages, and we can today Tukaisha to have a Facebook page today Tukaisha. We have all the time to do those things. But when I come here on radio, I talk about issues affecting the people. And I don't make any apologies. For the things that are right, we will defend. For the things that are wrong, we will speak very passionately against those things, and we'll provide our alternatives. So there's no apology for that. So I agree with Wamlambo Morgan. Vana, charity begins at home. My parents, we have a duty to help Vana Vatu Wakonkoloke. There is no one who can raise our children. Money is not enough. We need to be there to provide guidance kunkhala makolo so that they learn. That's why vana tivaphunzise chechi, tivaphunzise kupasa ulemu vantu, tivaphunzise kuchita respect makolo, and to work hard for their lives. So yes, we have a job as parents to mentor our children. Our teachers have a job to mentor the students. The church has a job to provide, to lead by examples, because the Bible says that you administer and you preach the word of God by what you do, not only by what you say. So the church also should provide that moral guidance by being an example. But also government has a duty to provide an enabling environment to create jobs for the young people. It has a duty to reduce the cost of doing business for our people who are struggling by SMEs. It's a job of the government to do that. That's the way we deal with the problem of junkies, because the junkies are just a product of a failed society. These are just products of a failed society. Yes, Lawrence Banda, we shall strive to be very objective. We shall raise our voices where we don't agree with the government, and we shall raise alternatives which government must take charge of. And like Bayomba said, I read the Bible every day. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11, really clear. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I did things as a child. You don't expect a person who's running for the office of the president to be mature. He must be mature, he must be sober, he must be grounded. If you're running for the office of the president and you want to speak like a kada on the road, then you're not ready to be president of this country. Because we have enough of those who can insult. We have enough of those. But when you are running for the office I'm running for, you must be serious, because we're dealing with serious issues. And that's why we take this thing very, very serious. On the issue of fuel, and this is very critical. Andrew Kamanga, former FAZ president, is an energy expert. And I hope I'm not jeopardizing him here, and I have no permission to talk about him here. But it's one of the people that I have personally identified, and I ask questions on energy because he's an expert. And I've been to his office several times to go and ask questions on these issues to learn more as an energy expert. And my apologies, Bakamanga, that I'm bringing your name in this issue, but it's because I come to office to ask questions. And I do this to everybody. I've got colleagues that I was with at University of Zambia that today are running government offices. The CEO for Pakra, we were intake mates at UNZA. I ask him questions about how do we help the small and medium scale enterprises, because DPP, the way we have crafted our manifesto, is anchored on the people. It's not a manifesto where we sit in a corner, no, it's anchored on what the people are saying. So I go to these people, my colleague, and I'm sorry I'm using your name here, but I go to them and ask, guys, we have a problem. Small and medium enterprises are struggling. How do we help these people? And these are professionals, they tell me, a person who wants to be president, that, comrade, these are the challenges that are there, but these is the alternatives that you can use. And I've got friends in PF, in MMD, in UNIP, in UPND, that I have respect for, and I reach out to them. Others are in government, I reach out to them. I'm a student, I'm a scholar, I'm doing my PhD now. So reading, researching is what I do every day for a living. So I go to people and I ask questions. I've gone to people who are former board chairpersons and former CEOs for Indeni, and those that have worked for institutions like Nitrogen Chemicals of Zambia. This is a challenge we have in the energy sector. Indeni, and these are not my words, these are the words of the board chairperson, is financially struggling. Indeni needs $220 million to have stock, to improve its technology, and to improve its equipment. There was a 2025-2026 budget. That money was not allocated. So what is happening at Indeni? They are now relying on private companies to provide stock to Indeni. Those private companies must make a profit. And who pays for that profit is you and me when we go to buy fuel at the filling station. We're the ones, because that cost is pushed out to us, the consumers. So the solution, first of all, to reduce the cost of fuel and to make the supply of fuel to be stable, is to invest the $220 million that is needed in Indeni, and remove the middlemen, remove these private hands that are being given contracts to supply to Indeni. That's solution number one. Number two is to build enough stockpiles and enough reserve tanks, enough storage facilities. So we can go for the next 6 months without buying fuel. We are okay, we are safe. We don't have that. And you can ask these energy experts, they will tell you that even the fueling stations, the filling stations, the gas stations, whichever you might want to call them, they have a quota which they are told that you need to have stockpile of up to this amount. You have to check that every time there is a month towards month end, Muzanga fuel of shortage, if diesel and what, because also they do hedging of their fuel. Fuel, then they offload. If they reduce fuel, they hold on. So they also need to have specified stockpiles, specified the reserves that they should have. I don't know whether ERB can tell us that they are making every fueling station, every filling station, every gas station meets this. I don't know. ERB has to explain on that. Number two, we buy this fuel in dollars. So when the kwacha depreciates, it means that the cost of fuel automatically goes up, because you have to change your kwacha into dollars and sell and buy your fuel into dollars. We need to increase production, because the only way you sustain the kwacha strength is to produce more and export more. If you don't produce more and export more, you rely on money coming from the mines every time they make their payments, the kwacha will strengthen. But after that money is wiped out of the market, the kwacha also goes down. So we need to improve on production. Where there's no production, there is nothing that you can do. But also we need to ensure bulk buying. But you can't do bulk buying if you don't have the reserves. You can't do bulk buying if you don't have the facilities to store your fuel. So government must invest in building stockpiles, in building reserves, in building storage facilities, so that you can negotiate and buy maybe fuel for the next 6 months. To fuel 6 months. Whether at the international market there's a crisis, the fuel prices go up, you will not be affected, because you have already bought fuel for the next 6 months. Finally, on this issue is the issue of subsidies. Now, I'm talking about targeted subsidies. You don't want to reduce the cost of malite for multinationals. No, right now, ordinary Zambians are paying more in electricity tariffs, including, depending on your band. If you buy more electricity, use more electricity, you pay more. What government needs to do is this. For all these large-scale industries that use too much of our electricity, by the way, the mining sector uses over 53% of our entire electricity that is being produced by ZESCO. They should pay more for tariffs and reduce the tariffs so the ordinary people in the compounds. Once they reduce malite, struggle. You reduce, but you increase kulima miners because they have money. They make super profits. and they have the ability to pay, but also make them have at least 20% of their electricity needs be met by themselves, so that you reduce that burden pale bazesco. And bazesco na beve wana problem imozi. They are importing power. We have been told they're importing up to 511 megawatts. They're also exporting power, but using their own infrastructure, they're giving these contracts to individual foreign and local private companies. That is wrong. ZESCO must import directly itself and export directly itself. That way they are going to have enough money to invest in generation, in transmission, and distribution of electricity. Government must use the taxes we get from the mines to subsidize electricity and fuel. If we don't, we will not be able to deal with the cost of production. So these are alternatives. I hope Manvela.
Indeed. And your concluding remarks as we close.
My concluding remarks is that we have 6 months, 7, 8 months somewhere there before the elections. The Zambian people must demand all of us to be speaking to the issues that affect them. That politics of chochise, fyakuitukaisha, that politics doesn't save you as a voter. It saves the politician. I've been in politics for 23 years. Politician alaria. Just go and check where they take their children to school, private schools. Check the houses they live in. Tabachula, wala kanefpuna, wala minister, wala MP, wala ambassador. But you and me, we suffer on the streets. So don't pay attention to politicians that have got nothing to offer. When a politician comes here, let him talk about the issues affecting you. Cost of fuel, cost of mini meal, cost of sugar, and how he's going to do these things the way we have done the last 2 years. The last 2 hours we've been on this set. And going forward, there's one issue we didn't deal with, but it's a critical issue and we've made it very known. The Electoral Commission of Zambia has a responsibility to create not only an enabling environment for a free, fair, and credible election, but also to ensure that they build confidence in the process. So DPP condemns very strongly the proposal by the Electoral Commission of Zambia to remove the official mark on the ballot paper and to stop stamping ballot papers with the official stamp, because that does not secure the ballot, doesn't secure the vote. The Electoral Commission of Zambia should not change what has worked since 1991. We have had elections since 1991. They are not helping government. They're not helping those in power. They're making those in power look bad. Electoral Commission of Zambia should secure our ballots, not make them easy to tamper with, not make them easy to play around with. So we condemn those. And I want to encourage all Zambians now, as we end, that ECZ is conducting public hearings on the delimitation processes. Go and make submissions. Let's not just be seated on social media and shoot. No, let's go and make these submissions. This country will not change. It will not move if you and me are not there to provide the leadership that is needed. At whatever level we are at, we need to be part and parcel of the change that we desire. We must be that change. Zikomo kwambiri leza lumbwe tamikira kwambiri mulungu adarise mulungu ankhale nase. Zikomo kwambiri.
Thank you very much. And that was our guest for today, Antonio Mwanza. He is president of Democratic Progressive Party, DPP. And of course, we sincerely appreciate that he took time to be with us here on the burning issue. That is the Thursday edition of the burning issue. Sincere appreciation go to our partner radio stations, Sunga FM in Northern Province, Tuta FM in Mansa, Muchinga Radio in Chinsali, ZFM in Kapiri, Platinum Radio in Indola, iWave FM in Chingola, Spice FM in Kawe, Katete FM in Katete, and BMTV channel 114 on Topstar. Again, they've continued to give us the quality in as far as your Facebook page is concerned, and also find them as well on Facebook. They are there. And they are BMTV Zambia, is it? Yes, BMTV Zambia on Facebook page. Like that page, follow it, and follow most of their live broadcasts equally on Facebook. So from all of us here is take care of yourselves and more so of each other. We will be back next week with yet another edition of The Burning Issue, and that is God willing. Bye-bye.
Tune in next week for another edition of The Burning Issue, and thank you for your participation. Democracy and freedom of expression is about tolerating the views that you don't like from someone you might not like.
Ngana sapula mulamfuika ngana lomba mulampela iwe kana besa wandi kana luba mulamwesha kana sapula mulamfuika ngana lomba mulampela iwe kana besa wandi balanti pusha inde e konfumie sansa shandiye de lonja beba inde te kumpini kulile sawandi de so walu se